Hello and welcome to this YouTube channel. Today I'm going to record one video on a very important issue which is relevant to the teaching processes. This video is very exclusive because of the fact that it's going to talk of the involvement of education system or of the success of education system in producing such individuals which may be possibly becoming responsible and honorable citizens of a civic state. But this is not happening for a very long in Pakistan, that we are generating the people, we are giving a product from the educational institutions, which is more prone to cheating, more prone to dishonesty, and up to some extent corruption, and also to the terroristic activities. What is the reason behind that? This reason is traced by Mark Bracher, on whom today's lecture is going to be. Mark Bracher has suggested number of things because of which such a situation is present in Pakistan and all over the world as well. According to him, if necessary measures are taken, this situation can be addressed to a maximum extent. So today's video talks about the philosophy of Mark Bracher with reference to his book that he has published, and we shall be witnessing everything about him in this video. So the answer to the question why educational process is important in the making of citizens a responsible, civic, and very proud citizen of a state instead of making him involved into certain small street crimes and bigger violent activities. For this purpose, first of all, we need to have a kind of introduction of Mark Bracher. And for this purpose, look at the face. Here it is the face of Mark Bracher. He's a very big philosopher. He's a very big person. He is the person responsible for telling us some of the qualities of education system and its teaching. First of all, let me tell you people that he's a professor and director of neurocognitive research programs for the advancement of the humanities in the campus Kent of the university. Now, this is something very special about him that we are witnessing here, that he is not only teaching English, not only he is a professor of English language and learning and education, but also his specialty goes to address the neurocognitive research as well. And because of that, he is very important in the advancement of humanities. Let us see some of the bare facts about his life. For example, if we consider about the biography of Mark Bracher, we have a few points here. For example, how literary study and humanities education can help students become more fulfilled, more productive, and socially responsible members of the society. So, as I have already pointed out, that this is the issue that Mark Bracher goes to talk about, that the basic purpose of education is not only to impart information and instruction and to make the people do certain practical activities, but also to become ultimately a very productive and responsible members of the society. This is the purpose of education of humanities as is suggested by Mark Bracher. And for this purpose, Mark Bracher also says that education and other practices for reducing social injustices, that these practices or praxis one can say can be used in order to reduce social injustice. The social injustice like the racism, colonialism, sexism, homophobia, and also the growing disparities in by employing the methods and findings of social, cognitive, and affective neuroscience. So it means that his basic focus is to make the students or the learners the better human being, more equipped human being who may be helpful in reducing not only the social evils but also becoming responsible citizens in the world. So that is the basic purpose of Mark Bracher and basic purpose of lecture, also to highlight the efforts of Mark Bracher which he has put into his different books, and one special book will be talked about in this lecture. And I have also to let my audience watch that all the book will not be discussed. It will be only one chapter of the book because number of other lectures are required in order to understand the whole philosophy preached in this book. So that is why only one book, and out of that only one chapter has been selected to highlight the point that I have already signified here. He's the writer of number of books, as the screen shows to you people. I have colored red the book about which I'm going to talk about. It's the Radical Pedagogy, concerned about identity, generativity, and social transformation. It has been published in 2006 and it has a lot of impact on the American society. teaching processes and the educational processes of different societies and universities and colleges inside the Western world. So, here, out of this book, only one part that is related to identity that will be talked about by us in this chapter. And I think this is very important, that identity of a person has to be taken care of. And in any process, for example, even if a meeting, even if in some class, or even if some in gathering, the identity of a person is not taken care of, that person feels lost, that person feels aggrieved as well. And at that time, when his grievances are not addressed also, at that time he becomes even more violent. And as a result of that, identity becomes the most important thing. We have different markers of identity, but some of the things are fixed, and that has been nominated and nomenclatured up to some extent, that we people call ourselves. For example, somebody will call himself Baloch, or somebody will call his Punjabi, or a Seraiki, or some other type of terminology may be used. And at the broader level, the person may be called as the Eurasian person, or Spanish person, or Pakistani or Indian person. In that way, there is a kind of nomenclature already existing, and with respect to that, honor and status is also attached with that. And as the Spanish farmers have a very famous adage, that one should have a positive pride all the time. And this is the thing which identity teaches to everyone, that if you know your identity, and if you want to stress this, if other people regard your identity, the positive pride is there, and you are a better worker, a responsible citizen as well. But if this thing is hurt, if this thing is decreased, if this thing is not recognized at that time, one tries to seek the satisfaction of identity from other sources, and definitely it results into some other problematic areas of the society, and especially with reference to education. So let us enter into it and see what Mark Bracher says. For example, I would say, first of all, Mark Bracher talks about these two important points, that education has always been seen as a key element in the social change ideological state apparatuses, and Lichinson and Holland demonstrate maintaining one's identity is ultimate motive underlying all human behavior. So here, these two statements go to suggest that they are very much interlinked with each other. Society is again interlinked with these two things. That is, one is the educational process, and through which we can bring a change in the society, especially if there are right apparatuses used. The kind of identity will be there, and that will be recognized as the Holland and Liechtenstein say, that this is the ultimate motive, or the identity is the ultimate motive, that it determines the human behavior. So if we are able to correct this motive, that is identity, definitely we will be able to produce a better change, better social change, and better civic state will be created because of this. So therefore, from here we can take one point, that education is the very thing which can bring the positive change in the society. But how that education should be given? It has to be given in such a way where the identity of a person is maintained, is recognized, is demonstrated, is shown, and as a result there could be a positive behavior. But in the educational process, if the identity process is not taken in that way as it is suggested, definitely it can result into reverse process as well. So with these 2 points, I need to take you people forward and see how identity works in these areas that we are going to discuss. So, as you have seen, that this identity has been delimited by me only towards the learning process. For example, the very first point is, as the prime motivator of human behavior, identity affects learning. It means that the teaching process is important, and then the learning process is equally important. If the teaching process is there to recognize identity and motivates the students up to a maximum level so that they can feel important as far as their identity is concerned, the learning process will be quite positive and quite strong as well. So motivation for a learner with respect to his identity is very much important, because learning, like all other behavior, is motivated by the effort to maintain and enhance identity, recognition, or the opportunity to enact certain identity contents. So not only we need to tell or maintain our identity, but also we need to find some type of recognition for ourselves. And this recognition can also be created by the teaching process. Opportunities should be given to the students so that they can recognize themselves, they can feel what they are and who they are, and how they are going to participate in the learning process as well. If this thing is going on, definitely maintenance of identity will be there, enhancement of identity will be there, and because of these two factors, the behavior change will be there, and that behavioral change would be positive. And if these two things are not recognized, not given a space by the teacher in the classroom or by the teaching process in the classroom, definitely the reversal of the process can also take place. For example, the motivation to learn can be lacking when students are able to get all the identity support from sources other than education, with less effort or with fewer threats to identity, and causes social problems. So this statement is very significant. Rather, it is the core of the whole issue. For example, here we are facing the situation when a student is not given any chance to maintain or any chance to enhance his identity or any chance to get his identity recognized at that time. He has to do this. Identity recognition is the problem of every human being. So he would try to find the similar recognition, maintenance, and identity outside the classroom. Now, inside the classroom, it is better to do so because not only in that way, educational process will be easier and quickly things would be learned, but also the change can be brought among the young men. But if these things are lacking there, the same individual can find out identity sports here and there in different other groups out of the classroom, and because of that, that identity maintenance or that recognition possibly may not be available in that pleasant, in that instructional way as it is available outside the classroom. And most of the problems do occur because of this situation. For example, uh, sometime it happens that the things are not happening very well inside the classroom for certain students. Take the example of sportsmen or the people who play the games most of the time. They find satisfaction of recognition and that of identity and that of maintenance of identity outside the classroom as well. For example, when they are playing the game at that time, they find the maintenance of identity when the applause is given, when the respect is given, prizes are given outside the classroom. And in the same way, if the recognition comes in the society outside of the classroom, now this thing is happening, but it's happening outside of the classroom. If this thing is happening in the classroom at that time, the similar benefit can be reaped by the teaching and learning process as well. Now, it's not all the time the sportsmen, it's not all the time the good thing which are happening outside the classroom. Outside the classroom, there are many other things as well which can make the people feel bad as well, make the people turn towards social evils as well. For example, sometimes one may fall trap into some social groups which are not spreading positivity in the society, which are trying to create disturbances in the society. If any individual, if any student doesn't find recognition of his identity and goes to these people who are problematic people at that time, definitely he cannot learn the positive things, he will learn the negative things. For example, falling into some type of drug activity, then some type of social evil activity, some type of cheating or disturbing activity. At that time, the social problems will be happening. So in that way, the maintenance of identity inside the classroom rather than other than the classroom sources should be done at every cost. Why so? What is the reason behind that? Two, three things more I would like to talk to you people. For example, need of recognition is the need of everybody. It's a prime motive behind our social problems that we have already established. Now, any individual who tries to find the similar identity and recognition by leaving the home and school, joining the street gangs, for example, and enacting the roles of violence, for example, at community and ethnic level that attract attention and provide some individual recognition. If this thing happens, then definitely we will be creating evil, evil mongering people. We will be creating cheaters. We will be creating the people who are involved into street gangs and street evils as well, social evils as well. And at the bigger level, it may be something else as well. So in that way, the importance of recognition of identity inside the classroom has been established, because if you don't do so, the individuals may find the same thing outside. Now, this thing has happened in many of the institutions of Middle East, Asia, and many other institutions inside Europe and America as well, wherever the classes fail to provide, the teaching process fails to provide the opportunities of recognition of identity, the opportunities of maintaining and enhancing the identity. At that time, the student tries to find out the similar recognition outside the classroom. In these days, it's not necessary that one may be joining a group. we have the time and period of the social media, in which large variety of people are present, and most of these people have their own agenda through these attractions which they create. And the student who is not being given the chance to recognize his identity may be falling a trap to such people as well. So he may turn into a hacker or internet hacker, he may turn into any thief and gangster. So in order to avoid all that, Mark Bracher has suggested that we should try to go to those uh, processes, those methods, those approaches of teaching which allow the students to have some kind of recognition of his identity. And we may give chances to the students. Semester system that is present right now in Pakistan that affords such chances. For example, making of the assignments and showing to the teacher and to the class fellows, so that the person may be able to get some appraisal or some applaud for the kind of assignment he's prepared. In that way, he's given a chance to show his identity. Same is the case with the presentations of semester system, that there the student is required to show his worth, to show his work and hard work. At that time also he's given the recognition. And there are many other ways. For example, role playing is there, that can also involve. All these activities are used and can be used in the semester system in order to give or afford chances to the students, so that they can feel themselves recognized, their talent being recognized, their efforts and hard work being recognized. There should be the process of a little punishment and then greater reward for their work as well. If this thing goes on happening, definitely classroom and teaching process is involved, according to Mark Bracher, in enhancing the identity and recognition, the identity of the people or the learners or the students, the classroom. If this thing happens, we can avoid large number of social evils, and we can turn our nation into the nation which definitely can be responsible people. As we had started with the idea here in the colored lines, that Mark Bracher is very much important in this regard, because he tries to bring before us the kind of thing which will be helpful, which may be helpful in maintaining the identity and the identity of the people, because of which a big motivation will come in the classroom, and the students will be able to turn themselves into the responsible social beings and responsible citizens, and as a result number of social evils can be avoided and a good nation can be prepared. So this only one point that I have tried to highlight. If it's given the kind of chance, if it is included in the teaching processes by the teachers, it's not necessary that all the time government should come forward and give us details and processes and methods to do so. Every teacher is a master's in art, at least the terminal degree for becoming a lecturer. And most of people now are MPhils and PhDs. They know, they have passed through such processes as well. So I would suggest rather, instead of advising, I would suggest that every teacher should adopt those methods of teaching where the recognition of the identity of the student is possible, and he's got the chance to recognize himself, get himself recognized as well. The teaching process would be easier, student would learn something, and ultimately good human individuals will be created. That's it from me for this time. Hopefully seeing you next time. If you find it interesting, if you find it good in any way, do not fail to click the subscribe button. And therefore, right now the time has come to stop this lecture here. Thank you very much for watching.